We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Lakeisha.
And we're here this morning to answer your questions. As you know, this is what we do every Friday. You wait all Friday long to have these phenomenal questions answered. So whatever your situation is, some of you are in a precarious situation right now in your relationship. You are in that complicated state. And we're here to help walk you through your journey, to deal with your crisis, to help you overcome the challenges, to give you clarity. And so whatever we can do for you, we're here. So go ahead and post your question. Let's dive right in and give you what you need. Let me just say this was the week that we started our show. So I want to congratulate Lakeisha and Walton Charmaine and Danielle for doing a great job with their shows. We have a few more coming up. Monday, as you know, Sunday, as you know, is Kingdom Marriage. And then the FOUNDRY shows Monday night. So make sure you continue to tune in for things like that. And you got to like, share, and subscribe so you know exactly when these shows are taking place. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your likes and your shares. That's what this is all about, guys. So go ahead and ask your questions. We want to dive right in. We're just going to go to a quick announcement. We have to mention that tomorrow is the Enneagram Masterclass. Many of you have signed up for that. Some of you have been talking about it, but you haven't signed up yet. It's not too late. Go ahead and do that. So watch this quick video, post your questions. We'll be back right on the other side of this.
Hey everybody, Danielle Pettiford here, and I am so excited to invite you to our upcoming masterclass entitled An Inside Job. Now, this masterclass is special because you guys have been asking for it. And we have been doing a lot of discussing about the Enneagram and how you relate with your spouse and how they relate to you and the lenses and the perspectives that we all have that differ. But maybe you still feel stuck individually. Maybe for you, you know that you're not operating as your best self. Well, there is a roadmap that leads you right back to you. And it's a very individual journey, but we all can take it together. I'm so excited about this masterclass. I'm excited about showing you how to live a life without fear, without anxiety, without anger, and for you to understand that God already had a plan for you when He put you on this planet. He knew who He had designed you to be. And it's for you to do the digging and discovering to find out who that is so that you can live the best life at the highest calling that God designed for you. So I hope that you will join us in this masterclass. I can't wait to see you there.
That's right. That's tomorrow from 3 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you make way, you make room, and you get in while you can because it's going to be transformational. All right, we have a question that came in. I was unfaithful to my husband. He recently found out 2 weeks ago, and he is adamant that the relationship is over. He's filed papers. What do I do? Well, the question is, what do you want to do? Do you want to fight for your marriage? Do you want to restore it? Do you want to get it back to its rightful place? Or do you want to allow the divorce to occur? I know that's a rhetorical question, and most likely you want this to shift and change around for you. But what I find is that oftentimes when a spouse is adamant, they're uncompromising in their position that they're done, we pay attention too much to what they say and we go along with their decision and we don't fight, or we're in a panic, frantic state and we do all types of things that further push our spouses away instead of trying to figure out things that will pull them in and help them reconsider. But I just want to encourage you. I can't tell you how many couples that we've worked with, all of us, where papers were filed, divorce proceedings have taken place. They were months away, weeks away, possibly days away, And at the last minute, there was a reconsideration. And so I want to give you hope that it's not too late. It is not over until it's over. And you've got to be willing to fight to the very end to turn things around. I don't know. That's been my experience. What have you guys seen working with the couples that you've worked with?
I agree. I mean, that's what Last Chance Weekend's all about, right? It's like we've seen that. We've seen people separated for 5 years get back together. People who hadn't lived in the same house in years, all of a sudden now they're getting married. It's just a matter of your commitment and what you're willing to learn, your willingness to accept change, and your willingness to put in the time and effort, time, money, and effort, really, in order to try to get things back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So listen, if
I
you go ahead.
I love the fact that you started your response with a question. What is it that you want to do? Because that's exactly what I was thinking. It really is about your mentality. I mean, we talk about this all the time, that everything begins with a changed mind, and everything else will follow. Even your heart, your feelings, your emotions, everything will get in alignment with whatever it is that you have in your mind. So if you made up your mind that you want to quit, then everything else that happens after you make up your mind, and that's it, everything else will justify that mindset. But if you make up your mind that no, I want to fight for it, it's worth fighting, then everything else will align with that as well. So it really just comes down to, what is it that you want? What are you willing to do? And are you going to wait? Because it's going to take some time. It will take a lot of patience. So you're definitely going to have to be committed to that journey and to that process. But there's nothing that cannot be restored. There's nothing that cannot be turned around if you have the willingness and the will.
Excellent answer. All right, we have a lot of questions coming in, so we're going to go to the appropriate person to answer this question. And if anything needs to be piggybacked on by another, we'll go ahead and do that. But I think, Lakeisha, this is for you. You know, just so you know, guys, Lakeisha is the sex coach. She is the one on our team that really addresses all of these issues and counsels people through, coaches people through these situations. So the question is, how should I handle a sexless marriage, meaning that it's only once a month? She says it's the side effects of meds, and he is struggling. Let me just say, a sexless marriage is a marriage where couples engage in sex anywhere between once a month to as low as 10 times a year. That constitutes sexless, and it's a tremendous issue. How can they go about handling this?
Well, the first thing that I saw that you said is that she says is side effects of some meds. Have you researched this? Have you gone to a doctor's appointment with her to verify that? Has she given you access to that type of information? Because if it is a side effect of medication, there should be a solution. There should be something that the medical professional could be able to offer to the two of you to assist with side effects from that medication. Maybe it needs to be a different medication. Maybe she needs to try something different. There's so many out there. I don't know what medication it is. You don't have to tell us that. And then I'm not a medical expert. But there are times where if you're having side effects, generally speaking, from a particular medication, that a doctor can change it and put you on a different one. But if she cannot, then what solutions do they have for those side effects from the medications? But let's just say, for conversation purposes, it's not the medication, and there's something else deeper going on within the relationship. You got to get to the root of whatever that is. Does she have a willingness to move forward, even though she doesn't feel like it? And basically what you're saying is no. So why not? Because there are a lot of things we do that we don't feel like doing. You get up and go to work every single day, and I'm sure you don't feel like doing it. So there are times where we're going to have to make some adjustments for the betterment of our relationship. So again, without digging deeper, without having a conversation with her, I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but I would say have a conversation with her to see if there's something more to it than that. Because there are many times that, again, we for lack of better words, we'll take one for the team when we don't feel like it. So if you're only having sex once a month, I don't know, that lends me to believe that there's something else going on there.
Without
Also, like, are you creating the environment? Like, guys, we're lazy after we've been married for a while. Let's just be real. Like,
Facts.
we start getting in this zone where we just kind of want it, and we think hitting on them and showing that sexual intention is enough. And the truth of the matter is, if we're not doing the romantic things, and we, like Open Her is a great book for this, by the way.
Mhm.
if you're not speaking to her head and to her heart
Yep.
and moving that, you ain't getting in the pants. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
There's a tolerance that women give us for those days, but the truth of the matter is that doesn't do anything for them. Are you creating the environment, the proper environment that stimulate those neurochemicals that make them want it?
Vashawn, did you watch the show Tuesday night? Like literally, the show was about reasons why wives say no to sex. And so we literally went through like 6 reasons, and there's a part 2 of it Tuesday. So go back and watch Tuesday night show. Tune in next week Tuesday night because it will be the second part of that, and just see, like really watch it with her and you guys have a conversation. As you go through those reasons, ask her, does this apply to us? Is this applicable? Does this make sense? Does this resonate with you? Because you're absolutely right, Jeff. There are a lot of times where the atmosphere is just not being set, and maybe she needs a little bit more finesse.
Let's go to D. Owens' great answer, guys. After my husband's 1.5-year affair, he confessed. We've been going to counseling the whole time of the affair together and alone, but he would not open up about to our counselor until finally realized that his affair partner had been lying and seen other men also. I'm hurt on how much of our marriage he told her, and now he won't open up about the affair. He says he has blocked the affair out of his mind. How do I get my husband to open up? And yes, we need a 4-hour session with Couples Academy. Jeff, I want you to jump in here because we're dealing with an issue. I want to go back. He's been lying, right? He's
Yep.
been lying to his wife, not opening up, not willing to be transparent, blocked it out of his mind. What advice do you have for her and for him?
Well, at the end of the day, you have to remember that men have been raised to lie for 2 reasons. Raised to lie. We literally walk around doing it all day long, mostly to ourselves, but in many times that begins leading into lies to others. And there's some hurt, shame, blame, guilt, those kinds of things that go as the reasons they don't want to talk about it. We think we can bury it and shove it under the rug. But they need to hear a voice that speaks to them, that lets them know that the truth, like that saying, the truth will set you free, it does. Because people lie for 2 reasons. They're hiding something or they're hyping up something. And in this particular case, it looks like he's hiding something. He's going to walk around with that burden inside of himself. It's not as much pain as it's caused you. It's carrying a burden on him to hold that in as well. And the connection really won't be reformed. He has to understand that the connection can't be really reformed until he's able to release that. You know, people always talk about the person who was cheated on moving forward, but there's a part that doesn't get discussed as much about the person who did the harm. Releasing that so that they can actually be the person that they need to be in order for things to move forward.
Excellent. All right, let's go to another one. Lorraine M. My husband had a 7-year affair. He says there was no love involved. It was only physical. What are your thoughts? He's so transparent, remorseful, regretful now, but I'm still struggling. Well, listen, in my professional opinion, it's hard to have a 7-year affair. That would be considered, by definition, either a marital void affair or an emotional entanglement affair. When it's that long, it's beyond just physical. Now, I do know people who they just have an arrangement. Tuesday at 8, we don't need to talk. We don't need to date. You know what the time is. You know what the spot is. We go, boom, and I'm about my business. So some people have that mentality. I would love to know the details of this particular affair, but overwhelmingly, when I hear things like that, it's a form of minimization. It's a form of making little of or light of what it really was. When you see over a 7-year process that there have been countless phone calls, countless text messages, countless visitations beyond the moment that they actually physically engage in sex, all of that speaks to an emotional entanglement. And you can't compartmentalize aspects of who you are. You bring your heart, your mind, your spirit, your body into everything. When I'm eating a meal, I bring all of me into that meal. When I'm playing basketball on the court, I bring all of me into that experience. When I go to work, I bring all of me into that experience. When I'm engaging in an affair, I bring all of me into that experience. I can't choose to leave a piece over here, a part over there, another piece at home. I bring all of me, and emotions are involved in that. So either I really, 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 really liked who this person is, or I liked how I felt when I was with that person. That's emotional. So when
Mhm.
people try to say it was just physical, no, maybe they're lying, or they just have no understanding on what the emotional aspect of who they are is. Now, I will say also that a lot of men, unfortunately, haven't tapped into their emotions.
That's right.
And so they don't know how to feel, or they don't know how to process, because just as men were raised to lie, women too. A lot of men have been taught to suppress their feelings and emotions and to not identify them. Don't cry, you're a boy. Be strong. Don't, And so when it comes to emotions, it's like a distant relationship we have with it. So I think he's speaking either out of ignorance or he's lying, minimizing. And it requires a deeper dive. And that's why it's important to discover the why and helping to comprehensively know what an affair is and what it's not, and how you get caught up in the transitions and all those things that take place. And so you need to be with the right person who's going to guide you through that process so that you can get the healing. Because it's just like, listen, I've seen so many spouses have evidence and proof of something. They got it right here in their hand. Here's the receipts, but their spouse continues to deny, and they struggle. They're in a struggle because even though they have the evidence, until their spouse acknowledges it, they don't have any peace. And so here's an indication, or here's an example where that spouse has to be completely transparent about what it was, so that the spouse can get some peace, some clarity, some closure, so that they can begin to move forward.
It's also
Yeah.
neurochemically, I'm not going to say impossible because GABA is present too. It's neurochemically impossible, close to impossible, to, unless there's like some psychological disorder or some chemical imbalance, for them not to have some kind of bond, because oxytocin's highest presence is during orgasm. And oxytocin is what creates a bond between two people. That bond is emotional in its very nature because it's neurochemical. And at this, when we look at it just on the surface of it, typically men who have sex with women they're really not interested in, they're doing it because of just a marital void, or and they feel disgusted afterwards and they don't want anything to do with that person, and they move on. They may do it again, but they're going to do it with somebody different because they're going to feel ashamed. They're not going to feel that bond with that person. 7 years is a bond.
Yeah, she went on to say went for counseling for a year, was not helpful. I can't initiate a hug, kiss, sex. He keeps telling me he loves him. I don't know if that was a typo or not, but says I feel he's gotten away with his infidelity because I'm still with him. You're still struggling, sis, because he literally was living a double life. You cannot be in an affair with someone for 7 years and it not be considered a relationship. Even if he didn't consider it to be, whomever he was having the affair with, they did. Like he literally, as Asani said, like literally, how do you separate parts of you and only give them pieces? Like that's just not the case. So
What about the issues no one ever talks about? Like, okay, so what happens when you're not attracted to your spouse anymore because they've put on pounds? I know that that's happened in my relationship, or these kinds of things happen and they're never discussed because nobody wants to
right,
hurt the other person, but they end up
right.
hurting the other person more by acting out, as opposed to having real conversations and maybe doing something together, not in a judgmental fashion, but having a real conversation about what needs to change. And I know
Exactly.
this is
She's still
difficult.
stuck too because he's telling her that it wasn't emotional. There was no love. It was just physical. She's stuck because it doesn't make sense.
Yep.
I mean, exactly. So hopefully that answer helped you. Asia, I see your comment, but it's long, it got cut off. I just need you to ask a question so that we can answer the specific question. But in the meantime, Jessica, my husband cheated on me after more than 1 year. He refused to watch videos. I feel better now. I still continue my recovery watching videos. He changed his behavior. How can I motivate to do it? Thanks. How can you motivate him to watch videos, go to counseling? I'm not sure what the question is, but how could you motivate him? Come on, Jeff. Come on, Jeff. I know you're busy. Come on, brother.
Bring
Come
yours
on.
off.
We live on air. What's going on up in here?
Bring
Really?
yours off.
We live on air? You can't mute your phone over there?
It's because it's coming through the computer. I have to disconnect it.
These are the
Sorry.
bloopers that we love here on the show, live and direct. But listen, what do we do? How do you motivate him? Well, what's the source of his motivation? Everybody has a source of motivation, and you have to figure out what that is and tap into that to get him to get on board. If you could show him and reveal to him how he benefits from his involvement in your recovery. That may be another thing. Also, getting exposed to other couples, possibly other success stories, other people who have been where you currently are at, and they're now on the other side of it, and how wonderful and blissful. Yep, that's what it is. Those are the things that you need to do. And when you do those things, you'd be surprised. I know that people oftentimes are motivated to do things at different seasons. And so that's the struggle. Like when I want it, you don't. Then when I slow down because I can't take it anymore, now you kick into gear. Now you want me. It's just one of those things. But I would encourage you to be consistent in what you're doing. Be the thermostat. Be the not the thermostat. There's the thermostat, right? And then there's the what am I thinking of? That other device, the thermometer. There it is. Be the thermostat. The thermostat is the one that creates the atmosphere and creates the temperature. The thermometer just assesses what the temperature is. So
Yes.
sometimes you have to be the thermometer, the thermostat in your relationship, and build an environment that makes it conducive for him to get on board. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Perfect sense.
All right. We have another question. Let's get to it. Ben Scott, good to see you, man. Can we touch on complacency prior to infidelity? If the unfaithful spouse, I'm sorry, I'm the unfaithful spouse, but there was complacency prior, and it took an affair to wake her up.
Okay, Mr. Ben. It took an affair to wake her up. That is definitely striking a nerve, sir, because what that sounds like is that you did this intentionally to wake her up. And if that is the case, that is not the answer. That's never the answer. That does more harm than good every single time. But if there's
He goes on to say right here, now her
okay,
attention comes off as fake because she's been lazy for so long.
what? How are you defining lazy? Like what? You feel like she's not doing her part in working on a relationship? What issues do you guys have? Have they been addressed? Have you talked to her prior to infidelity? Have you guys tried to work through anything? Have you gone to counseling? Have you connected with other couples who are going through what you're going through? I just, for me, I know that it takes two people to make a relationship work. So I hear what you're saying. At the same time, I also know that many, many times there are these unspoken expectations. And the thing is, you can't hold someone accountable to something that they never knew was an expectation. So I'm asking, did you have conversations prior to express to her what it is that you wanted, what you needed out of the relationship, and she did not respond? Or what happened there?
So let me jump in, Lakeisha, because you know what? I've heard this before. I've heard this from women for a long time. I've heard
Mhm.
this from men as well, and that has been a part of the problem, right? So when you think about like the marital void, I've been complaining and complaining. Our marriage is void of connection, void of communication, void of
Mhm.
recreational companionship, void of all these things. And we've been dealing with this and struggling with this. Now, I don't know if Ben intentionally went out and had an affair to wake his spouse up, which would be absolutely wrong, or out of frustration and things aren't
Mhm.
getting any better. Now, a vulnerability has been created in the relationship, and boom, I find myself in an affair. And that was the wake up call for my spouse. Unfortunately, it takes it takes crisis
Yeah.
to wake people up, to get them on board. And now you're saying, now she's giving me the attention, now she's fighting, but it seems fake. Well, let me tell you something. Your question is, let's answer your question. Because in essence, you're saying, let's speak about complacency prior to the infidelity. What do you want us to say about it? It happened, right? Complacency was a contributing factor to the affair because she was lazy. Now she's no longer lazy or hazy. She's putting forth effort.
Mhm.
So, yes, the affair shifted things within her. It was a wake up call, and now she's fighting for her marriage. So now she wants it. She's putting in the work, time, and the attention. And now you're interpreting it as lazy when now she's doing what you've wanted her to do supposedly all along. So,
Well,
what's the problem?
fake. he's interpreting it as fake because he
Right.
said she was lazy before, but
Oh, okay. Now it's fake.
how are
Well,
you gauging that though? Like, how can you determine if it's real or if it's fake or not? I mean, the reality is there's effort being made, and it may not feel authentic right now because it probably is uncomfortable for her. It's just like love languages, right? We speak different love languages. So if yours, Hassani, is not mine,
right.
I'm going to have to make some adjustments to love you the way that you desire to be loved because it's not what comes natural to me.
That's a
So it's not
fact.
going to feel exactly. It's not going to feel maybe authentic and genuine initially, but consistency over time to me will address that.
That's a great point because I remember when Danielle and I were trying to restore our relationship and she was asking me to do things that didn't come natural to me. And I'm like, okay, if that's what you want, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And then when I would do it, her thing was, it just doesn't seem genuine and authentic. I said, well, I'm doing it. Like if I didn't want to do it, listen, I'm doing what you've asked me to do. Like,
Right.
however it's coming across, this is new for me. But to your
Right.
point, the more I began to do it, because I had to tell her, I said, listen, the genuineness is your issue. That's not my issue.
Yeah.
That's your issue. You've got to work through that. You've just got to accept that what I'm doing comes from my heart and this is
Right.
what I want to do. And when that shift happened in her, she was able to receive the very thing that she'd been asking me for. And so,
Mhm.
likewise, Ben, maybe it's something within you that's misinterpreting her genuine intent here. She's showing up. And truth be told, 99% of the time, facts. Men are motivated by the fear of loss. So when men feel like, oh my God, I'm about to lose my marriage and my family, what do I need to do? And they shift into gears. And a lot of women struggle with that. Well, now, after all these years, I've been complaining about, yeah, but a lot of men, unfortunately, didn't think that she would ever leave. So in their own minds, they're like, yeah, she ain't going nowhere. Yeah, it's not that big a deal. We made light of it. But once we realized we were in crisis, we were
Mhm.
willing to do whatever it took. And it seems like this is where your wife is. Give her the
Hassani, what
grace to show up the right way. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. So what if it's unforgiveness? You know, what if you, Ben, are sitting on some unforgiveness? Because this is the truth, right? When there's been infidelity, there's so much light shed and so much heat put on the betrayer. But there are times where the betrayed, there's unforgiveness there's unforgiveness on both sides, right? The one who was cheated on, they don't want to forgive. The one who cheated, there was something going on prior to the infidelity. And have you forgiven her for that laziness? Have you forgiven her for the complacency? Have you let go of that? Have you released that? Because if you haven't, then everything that she does is going to look like what it is that you experienced before.
Now you hit it on the head. Boom. Matter of fact, you hit that smack dab right on the head, and that's exactly what it is. It is unforgiveness. It is unforgiveness. And so the recovery process is something that both of you must go through in
Yep.
order to get to a healed, restorative place in the relationship. And if you're struggling with unforgiveness, it doesn't matter what she does. You
Yes.
will discredit, you will minimize, you will discard, you will justify why you don't need to receive nothing because that ain't real, that's phony, that's not the case.
Right.
Sometimes you have to make it's the lenses you may be looking through. When you take, oh wow, I could, oh wow, oh, it is genuine. It
Yeah.
is authentic. I can accept it. And that's what you need to begin to do. We all look through different lenses that oftentimes can misinterpret what it is that we're experiencing. But
Yeah.
great point, Lakeisha. There's a lot of more questions. Let's jump to these. Jay says, the why of the affair was never explained, and I can't move forward till she explains the why to me. And guess what? I get it because this is the
Mhm.
space where most people struggle.
Yeah.
It's not so much the details of the affair, but it is the why. And this is why the full disclosure process is the first step in the recovery process. You can't build a healthy foundation in your marriage if you haven't tackled and overcome this very essential piece of the process, and it is having a full understanding and clarity on what has happened, what got us to this place. Because if you're tight lipped, And if you're not willing to share, how can I trust that this won't happen again? How can I trust your heart and your intentions? I feel like I'm living with a stranger. I feel like you're selecting what you want to give me. It's the trickle truth. There will be a wedge of distrust in the relationship, and it's just going to make everything horrible. And no matter what happens, we're always going to wind up coming back to this conversation until it's
Yep.
resolved.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that. Please do not try to do full disclosure by yourself. We have had couples that have come in and they're like, we did full disclosure. So they want to try to skip that step. But full disclosure is not just you telling your spouse everything. It is a strategic, well thought out, well planned, researched process that is very, very difficult for just the average husband and wife to do on their own. It really needs to be with a professional. So please do not try to do full disclosure on your own. Please reach out to us. Let us help you.
Absolutely. JR has a question that says, how do you face a quantifiable issue that comes from conscious incompetence without the resources needed to solve the issue? Great question. So, conscious incompetence simply means I know that I don't know. I know that I don't know the answer. So, how, if I know that I don't know, how can I tackle this quantifiable issue? Well, you have to connect with someone who's consciously competent,
Mhm.
right? Your conscious incompetence, your inability to solve the problem means that either you have to become consciously competent or you have to connect with someone who is consciously competent in spaces that you're not to give you wisdom, insight, know how to begin to grapple with that particular issue till you bring about resolution. And for instance, to make this plain, because I know these are big terms and terminology, if you're struggling in your relationship, that means that you're consciously incompetent. I know I can't figure out what I need to do. What do I do? Let me connect with consciously competent people like Lakeisha, like Jeff, like Walter Charmaine, like Danielle, like myself, so that we can help you deal with these quantifiable issues to bring about resolution. So there it is. I love the sophistication of your thinking. But that's the simple answer. All right, let's go to the next question. Onyx, at least she's been awakened in my relationship. In her eyes, I'm the only one to blame, so I'm the only one who must suffer the consequences. Wow.
No, absolutely not. In a relationship, both parties have responsibilities, both parties have roles to play. And when the relationship does hit a rough patch or a tough spot or goes into crisis or whatever, both parties have responsibility. This
Yeah,
is the thing. When you've been betrayed, it's really hard for you to step outside of your own hurt and pain and really take a long, hard look at yourself. Well, that is what we do here at Couples Academy. We are here to show both parties, help you identify, walk you through, guide you, facilitate this process where you're able to see yourself. A lot of that comes from Enneagram. A lot of that comes from understanding your personality type and how you've been showing up in the relationship. So I highly recommend you sign up for that masterclass this Saturday, because I tell you, you will learn so much. And I hope that the spouse who is not able to see the role that was played in the demise of the relationship will tune in as well.
absolutely. A couple more. I hope you don't mind, Lakeisha. A
Oh, I'm
question
good.
comes from Amanda. Can you speak to alcohol addiction and infidelity once someone is sober for a while? My husband is sober 2 years this week. He started an affair with a coworker a little after a year of sobriety. Let me speak to this, and then you could jump in. I mean, yeah, the reality is many people come to us who have struggled with alcohol addiction or any other form of addiction, and there is a tie to infidelity. Oftentimes, there was, and I've talked about this a while back. It's been a while, but there was a study done on recovering alcoholics, and they wanted to know what causes a recovering alcoholic to continue to relapse. Okay. And so what they discovered is that there were these internal mood states within every alcoholic that drove them back to the bottle. And these internal mood states were put in the form of an acronym called HALT B, HALT hyphen B. The H stands for hungry, that whenever they became physically hungry, rather than eating food, they would drink. The A stands for anger, that whenever they became angry and didn't know how to deal with their emotions, they would drink to suppress or to sedate themselves to get to a calm place. The L stands for lonely, right? Because when you have an addiction, oftentimes you isolate yourself because you are hiding your addiction from others. You feel others won't understand. You don't want to be judged by others. So you find companionship in the bottle in ways that you feel you can't get it in other humans. The T stands for for tired, excuse me. When you become physically tired, people have routines and rituals. Like alcoholics oftentimes will drink right before they go to bed because it allows them to get a good night's sleep. The B stands for bored, right? Bored. Idle mind is an evil mind. Some people drink, some people smoke, some people sex, some people shop. We do all types of things. Now, when the addiction to the alcohol has been overcome, here's the reality. I may no longer be addicted to the alcohol, but the addictive behavior may still be there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I may need to
Yep.
find something else to become addicted to. So we've seen people become addicted to exercising because I need to do something with this energy. They become addicted to education. They're getting degrees and certifications. And so if the addiction is still there, you have to find a positive outlet for that addiction so it doesn't cause negative consequences on your life and your marriage. So he shifted from alcohol to an affair, right? There are hidden addictions. Now, oftentimes when we think about affairs, we think sex addiction, but there are hidden addictions within addictions
Mm-hmm.
that people may be still struggling with, and they no longer use alcohol to solve the problem. They'll use something else to solve the problem. And so this is why we would say, you see the insight. The reason why I have this insight is because I led care and recovery for several years. And we dealt with people who had all types of addictions and helped them to overcome those addictions and to get into a better space in their life and their marriage. I say that to say you need to reach out to us. Let us help you. Let us guide you through this process to get you to a better place. You want to say something about that?
No, perfect.
All right. All right. We got a couple more. Oh, man, I'm just going to know. They're popping up all over the place. Here's a question. Will the masterclass be recorded for future viewing? Yes, it will. Thank you for asking that question. Now, we know for some of you, you're just hearing about the masterclass. You can click on the link in the description. If you are not available to be there live, it will be recorded. You will get all of the handouts, the exercises, so you will not be missing anything other than a live experience. So you can still register knowing that you will not be available. Guys,
Yeah.
oh, Ben, let's go back to Ben. The affair that he had wasn't
Okay. All right.
intentional.
There it is. Hassani, there was a clarification to
Okay.
Asia's question, and so I won't read the whole thing. But basically, what she's asking is for structure with the recovery process. She's saying they've been watching videos, but like they really don't know what they should be doing moving forward. And I just want to say to you, Asia, it's beautiful that you guys are trying to do the work. It's wonderful that you are watching our videos and maybe you're watching other videos too. That's great, but that is not enough to get you through infidelity recovery. Like there is a whole process and it is structured. And so we can outline what the structure is here today, but this cannot be done independently. You need to reach out to a professional who can help walk you through, guide you through the process. Last Chance Weekend is the ideal situation, especially if you guys have already been working. You need to experience some success. Otherwise, people quit. If they don't start to see change within a certain amount of time, they'll give up, they'll quit. So, Last Chance Weekend gives you an opportunity to take months and months and months of counseling and condense it into a weekend and can really catapult you guys into the next stratosphere for where you need to be in healing and restoring your marriage. So reach out to us and let us help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to go to Daryl. Daryl says I had a 7-year emotional relationship without sex of any kind. It really hurts to admit to my wife I care for someone else other than her. Yeah. So there's really no question. It's more of a statement that he would like us to speak to. I want you to answer that because I have a piggyback question that's similar to that, but I want
Okay.
you to start us off, Lakeisha.
Yeah, so I mean, this is not the first time we've heard this, that there have been emotional affairs that's exactly what it is. There is no sex. And of course it hurts. I mean, you literally gave, this is kind of what we were talking about earlier, in that you are giving a major part of yourself, the entire part of you showing up in that situation. You've shared it now with someone else. Well, all of that energy really belonged to your wife. And while there may have been no sex, there had to be some sexual energy there between you and this other person. So even with that, like, if we're speaking from a biblical standpoint, like, just the thought of you having sex with someone else is considered a sin, right? It's considered you cheating, even if you didn't even do it, because you've thought about it, right? So there's still been some betrayal on your side, not just from an emotional standpoint, but again, that you have given a major part of yourself to someone else. And of course it's going to hurt. And of course it hurts her, because there's so many questions in her mind. Why couldn't you give that attention and time and effort and energy to her? What were you getting out of that situation? So, I mean, there's, for that length of time, 7 years, I know that this is devastating for both of you, but you definitely got to get to the root of why you
Yeah.
allowed another person to have that much of you in the first place. And then what is it that you need going forward to ensure that it doesn't happen again? There had to be something missing there emotionally for you to engage in an affair for 7 years with someone
Mhm.
else.
Here's the reality, Lakeisha, because we deal with this all the time, right? Having to redefine, re-educate
Hmm.
people when it comes to infidelity. Because truth be told, like when you think about President Clinton, former President Clinton, I did not have sexual
Right.
relationships with that woman or relations with that
Right.
woman, but we know that there was a physical act, right?
Yes.
In his mind, unless there's penetration and sex,
Yep.
it's not an affair.
Right.
Likewise, when it comes to any type of emotional connection, I truly believe that there are many people who did not think or realize what they were
Right.
doing was an actual affair. Like
Yes.
within my own being,
Yep.
like we're having these conversations and we're connecting and we're laughing and all these different things, and I'm not having enough. Like this is
Not
not
sleeping with
normal.
them. I'm not sleeping
I'm
with
not.
them. Yeah.
And so this is the challenge because oftentimes one spouse has a view of what a betrayal is, another
Right.
spouse has another view. I remember there was a couple I worked with for a year, and literally we were stuck, at
Yeah.
least for 2 months, on the very issue of what she was doing. In his
Yep.
mind, it was an affair. And I mean, he would pull up the Wikipedia, he would pull up dictionaries, he would reference books and try to convince her, see, what you were doing was an affair. And she could not accept it. It was just like, it was not an affair. Because in her mind and heart, that's not what my intent was. That's not what I
Right.
was doing. But by definition, that's what it was. And so all of these things had to be taken into account to get them to a place where they were willing to get on the same page and move
Mhm.
forward. And so, yeah, there's a healing process that needs to take place. And so, whether somebody had sometimes the recovery process for a person who has an affair with who has sex with an escort, a person who's in a 7 year emotional affair,
Yes.
a person
Mhm.
who's in a 2 month just physical affair, like the recovery process can be very similar. Like
Yeah.
the pain is equal in all scenarios, even though the situation was different.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Agreed.
it just requires continual healing and communication and a willingness to move forward, and we're here to commit to that
And,
process.
and also the development of some boundaries moving forward. You guys are definitely going to have to establish some new boundaries, because you cannot get into another inappropriate relationship with someone else moving forward, if you guys truly are going to restore your marriage. And so you're going to have to get some boundaries in place, which we can assist with as well. We walk couples through that process also all the time.
Absolutely. Here's a similar question. How can we get through, this is not as long, but how can we get through what was perceived as emotional infidelity 4 years ago? A coworker I barely knew Facebook messaged me and asked me to take his number. I ignored him and never spoke to him again. It explosively pops up and ruins good stretches and puts us in a tense, almost hostile place where we have to rebuild again. We survived, navigated deaths of major family members, a pandemic, and his father's huge betrayal, yet our successes through all of this is discounted by a Facebook exchange. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a different situation. If what you're saying is correct, a coworker reaches out to you on Facebook, asks for your number, you never respond, and somehow your husband uh, can't get past this, what has happened, and is identifying this as an emotional affair. If what you're saying is true, I wouldn't even classify this as any type of betrayal at all. I mean,
Mhm.
people reach out and try to DM and message me, Danielle, I'm sure many of you, all the time with hopes of trying to either rekindle or to establish something, and they get the hand. They get the hand. And so some people just don't respond at all. Other people do respond with a message that indicates how inappropriate and how it would never happen. And so I would love to hear more about the story from his perspective, because
Mhm.
for you two to be struggling over this, there's got to be something more. There's got to be another side that I'm not hearing, because it doesn't make sense to me, but maybe this makes sense to you, Lakeisha.
I don't know. I mean, maybe in his mind, he had different expectations of her. You know, maybe he was expecting her to respond
Hmm.
in a specific way to say that, absolutely no, you cannot have my phone number. Please don't disrespect my husband by asking for my number. I don't know. So the only thing that I'm thinking in this moment is that he may have felt that she needed to respond differently to that and shut it down. Like you said, someone tries to reach out to you and Danielle, they get the hand. So maybe he was looking for her to give this person the hand and she didn't do it. So
Yeah.
maybe he felt like she left the door open for this person because she didn't shut it down. So that will potentially create an opportunity for him to try again because she didn't say no.
Yeah. It's interesting. We all respond differently. We,
Right.
we all have the best of intentions, but we respond differently. I know that there have been messages that Danielle has gotten from people, and she just does not respond at all. Like, there's no response. Whereas me, they don't happen as much. So when it does happen, I'm going for the juggler. And, I remember somebody was just like pressing. And I was just like, what, like this chick back up. And she was pressing. And please indulge me. I just want to read this. So she kept pressing. She was liking photos. She was inboxing me, and I was just like, you know what? Let me just address this thing. And so I put a post on my Facebook page. I put it on my Instagram page for the world to see, as well as her. I inboxed her, but this is what it says: Beware, I'm married. If you're using Facebook as a hunting ground to secure companionship or to indulge in a secret sexual rendezvous, I am not available prey. My Facebook status, my posts, my videos, my business, my ministry clearly indicates that I'm married. Not just married, but happily married. I don't have room for any more friends, inappropriate conversations, occasional check ins, pokes, waves, or flirtatious back and forth banter. Keep your pictures, your compliments, and most importantly, keep your integrity, because that's all you really have. I'm not just a male, I'm a man. A male makes decisions with his penis, a man makes decisions with his mind. I surround myself with real men to ensure that I live in integrity. This post is not meant to expose women who have shamelessly pursued me through Messenger. Rather, this post is meant to expose me for who I really am, happily married.
Mhm.
Anything and everything that I will ever want or need is found in my wife, Danielle Pettiford. Take a hard look at this picture, because I posted a picture. There is no me without her. We're a package deal. And if that's something that you're into, the answer is still no. I'm a member of a new sexual revolution, and I'm leading a movement of honest, integral, faithful men and women who choose to honor God's first institution, marriage. Regardless of your past, it's not too late to jump on board this train. It's a one-way ticket on the path to marital fulfillment. Who's joining me? And ever since I posted that, not a single DM, inappropriate message, poke, nothing from nobody, because I had to let the world know. And sometimes
Yes.
that's what our spouse is looking for us to do,
Yes.
particularly as men. And
Yeah.
so maybe the struggle is there. I don't know, but you two can get through this. It all
Yes.
can turn around.
Absolutely. I just dropped the microphone because I mean, it's really nothing else to say after that, Sonny. Dang.
All right, guys. We're gonna go 11 more minutes. We're gonna go for the full hour. it's been a long time. And, when you have Lakeisha with all this wisdom, you got to create room and space for this to happen. So we got another comment. Good morning. I can attest that you need someone else to walk you through full disclosure or to find out the root cause. The affair partner cannot give you the full truth with just you two. Couples Academy can do this with you and help you move forward. Philly, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Right?
Yeah, that's and we appreciate it. And it's true what she's saying. It's extremely true, and that's how people are able to get through. All right, Jessica says, I found out about my husband's affair a week before the birth of my second baby.
Mhm.
It's not the first time. He denied it despite all the proof. I left him 3 months ago with the kids. I want to be done. Man, please reach out to us. You left him with the kids. So you
Yes.
didn't only leave him, you left the kids. This is a crisis situation. Jessica, please reach out so that we can talk through this and figure out how we can help restore your relationship. Another comment, Cool the Lover. Can y'all explain
How
how
much?
much intentionality it takes for an unfaithful person to recover and overcome past hurts and trauma? A lot of intentionality. But Lakeisha, go ahead, hit this one.
Yeah. So, man, it's one of the things I think that keeps the betrayer, because I think you're asking from the perspective of the betrayer. Is that right, Hassani? Is that what you got? That
Yeah,
he's the betrayer?
the person who cheated. How
Yeah,
much
to
intentionality
recover.
does it
Yeah,
take?
so
Yeah.
two things. Actually, three things, three major things that
Oh,
I want to
Lindsay
say.
says I have my babies right now. I'm looking at a
Yeah,
post.
I thought that's what she said, but I'm,
And let me see.
sometimes it's hard for us to interpret what you guys are saying.
Yeah.
But so three things, Cool the Lover, which I love your name, by the way, that can keep the unfaithful person stuck. Guilt, shame, and the third one, I think, and it is more than these three, but these are the main three that are popping in my head. But the most important one is unforgiveness. And I've shared this with you guys before that, forgiveness is in three parts. The forgiveness, one, that you are asking from God if you're a believer, two, from your spouse, and then the third one, most difficult one, is yourself.
Mm,
Forgiving yourself. God, you can pray to, you can release the prayer. You can't see God. You can't touch God. You can feel him at times, right? You can read the word or whatever, but you say that prayer, you release it, and you go on about your day. Your spouse is a little bit more difficult because you see this person every single day, and they can forgive you on Monday, and on Friday take their forgiveness back. You
mm,
can't get away from them until you go to work or you go to sleep, but then even then you might be dreaming about them. So you really can't get away from your spouse. But that third person, that most difficult person, is you, because
mm.
you cannot get away from you. You are with you everywhere you go.
Wow.
So that guilt, that shame, that keeps you stuck. The unforgiveness, it's huge. You must forgive yourself. You absolutely have to forgive yourself. And when I say the spouse, I want to break that down a little bit further. I know we don't have a lot of time. So with the spouse, not only are you requesting forgiveness from your spouse, but you have to forgive your spouse too, because there's something, again, that was going on before this infidelity happened. And I'm sure if we explore and we investigate, we'll be able to identify something that you had, that you were holding against your spouse. Maybe resentment, maybe bitterness, maybe anger, maybe frustration, maybe hurt, pain. I don't know. But there's something that you have to forgive that spouse for as well.
I mean, golly. Thank you. Thank you for the answer. Powerful answer. I think we may have room for one or two more questions, so you may want to get this in before we close out. But Justina says, she says, my husband committed infidelity with escorts. We went to therapy and forgave. Then he gambled $72,000 that's now debt. We had a huge argument, and now he changed all paychecks to another account. While I'm back home, he refused to talk to my family and admit his problems then, but told his family of his addiction. Currently going through divorce process. What are your thoughts if you've seen this before? Certainly, we've seen this before. Here's the reality. Not all marriages are going to last. Um, that's why there's a 50% divorce rate.
Mhm,
My question is, it seems like you have gone to counseling.
mhm,
Excuse me. Um, I don't know how effective the counseling was. I don't know what the focus of the counseling was. I can't speak to that. When people say, well, we've done counseling before and it just didn't work, I
mhm,
dig more into those details. Well, why didn't it work? Did you go to the wrong one who was not qualified to address your situation? Was there still lies and trickle truth and the refusal to admit the struggle to change? What did not work about it? Did you not work it? Did he not work it? Did the person you go to not allow it to work? You're in a place where you file divorce. And a lot of times when people file for divorce, truthfully, they're doing that out of place of desperation because they don't know what else to do. Like, I done tried everything. You said counseling, we went to counseling. You said take this class, we went to that class, nothing worked. And so I know that there's like this struggle, this internal struggle that people have because they want their marriage, but they feel like there's no saving it. So they go and get a divorce. And what I would encourage you to do, if you ask me my thoughts, try one more time before it's too late, because I'm telling you, we counsel people in the same exact situation and scenario where there's been escorts, there's been gambling, all the things that you just mentioned. This is not foreign to us. And we've seen couples come out on the other side. So if there's anything in you and in him, to give this one more chance, because a divorce is very expensive. Not just the proceedings, but the ramifications of it. It's a pain that will last for quite some time. People think it's a pathway to happiness. It's not. It's a compounded pain. There's a high cost. There's a financial cost. There's a relational cost. There's a cost. And so if it's possible that this can be turned around, and he can possibly change and transform, and your relationship could possibly be restored, I would say go for it. That's why we do the Last Chance Weekend. What say you?
I just want to add on, he's got to address his addiction, because everything that has transpired goes back to the addictive nature or personality that he has. The escorts, that's addiction. The gambling, that's addiction. I would not be surprised if there's some alcohol or some type of potential drug use or whatever. He has an addictive personality. So he's got to deal with that. He's got to do his work. One of the things, and you said transform, Hassani, and you said, do the work. But I just want to make sure that it's crystal clear that it's specific with what Hassani's talking about, is that he has to deal with that addiction. And so in any couple, whether there's addiction or not, whatever the situation is, there still has to be that lateral work that's being done, right? Individually, you guys individually working so that this comes into alignment. So he's got to deal with his addiction, and you may have some things that you need to deal with as well. But you guys working on yourselves individually while collectively restoring your marriage, that's what we do.
The challenge is, Lakeisha, to your point, my addiction doesn't just affect me. It affects my spouse. It affects my kids. It affects the entire household.
Absolutely.
And so you're right. I am the lowest common denominator in my relationships. And until I begin to work on me, everything else will remain the same. I could try to fix the relationship all I want. I can't fix my marriage and still hold on to my addiction. I got to release my addiction. And as one of the benefits is that it will heal and help the marriage, right? So I agree with you that 1,000% when you talk about the work that needs to be done. Guys, we appreciate you. We thank you for staying with us for a full hour. Hope that you got something out of it. Listen, the reason why we're here is to be a beacon of light to you, to be a source of encouragement and inspiration to you, to give you tips, to give you guidelines, to give you strategy, implementation. But it's just an hour, and we're all sharing our time and space together. Some of you need a deeper dive. Some of you need to reach out to us. So go to couplesacademy.org and set up a discovery call. We would love to talk about what your next steps can be. We have all types of programs and all types of solutions for you. So guys, we love you, and we will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, for those who join the class, we're excited. Yes. Once again, the link is in the description. We're going to end off with the video explaining what that is again. And until then, we'll see you on Sunday for what? For Kingdom
Marriage.
Hey, everybody. Danielle Pettiford here, and I am so excited to invite you to our upcoming masterclass entitled An Inside Job. Now, this masterclass is special because you guys have been asking for it. And we have been doing a lot of discussing about the Enneagram and how you relate with your spouse and how they relate to you, and the lenses and the perspectives that we all have that differ. But maybe you still feel stuck individually. Maybe for you know that you're not operating as your best self. Well, there is a roadmap that leads you right back to you. And it's a very individual journey, but we all can take it together. I'm so excited about this masterclass. I'm excited about showing you how to live a life without fear, without anxiety, without anger, and for you to understand that God already had a plan for you when He put you on this planet. He knew who He had designed you to be. And it's for you to do the digging and discovering to find out who that is so that you can live the best life at the highest calling that God designed for you. So I hope that you will join us in this masterclass. I can't wait to see you